and we have a lot of people in the building ready and raring to go, including those in our feature match area. So let's go out and head down there and watch young Dingo battle his opponent, and we'll get decks and everything set up for you, names and all that such. And we'll be underway here when these players are ready. Now, this blue-white Lotus Field deck, you gave me a little bit of a taste of what it's about. But what's the big card that you're trying to ramp into with those Lotus Fields in this blue-white control deck?
So the most important card in the win condition is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
Yes, and that untaps the Lotus Field at the end of turn, right?
Right. Back in Standard, you were just getting your 2 mana back every turn. If you have 2 Lotus Fields in play, you can play Teferi for free because you get that 6 mana back at the end of your turn to play on your opponent's turn.
Yeah, Strict Proctor, a really interesting 2-drop. It actually shuts down a lot of stuff in the format against your opponent, but turning off your own Lotus Field is so cool. And the fact that it's a triggered effect from playing the Lotus Field to counter it with the Stern Proctor means your opponent can't, hit it with a Fatal Push in response and ruin your life. So.
Right, and it looks like we have another interesting deck on the other side of the table. Daniel Ash brings Grinning Ignus combo.
Yeah, Grinning Ignus. This is something we saw Daniel Ash actually play in our last Pioneer event, and he did quite well. It actually made me re-explore the archetype. And
cool.
Whenever I got home on stream, I tried it one time, and it was pretty sweet. But yeah, we are off to the races here. Let's get Grinning Ignus to say Ignus. The T is not supposed to be there. But other than that, we have a turn 1 Lionel Wells from Daniel Ash off of a Stomping Grounds, and we're going to go to Pioneer Specialist Dingo. He should have been wearing a mustache on top of his mustache as well.
Can you do that?
I mean, you could certainly wear a fake mustache while you're wearing a mustache. I just don't know how good it'll look. Here's a Prosperous Innkeeper. So this is that same Teamer Grinning Ignus combo deck that we saw Daniel Ash pilot a few months back. And here we're going to get in for one with Llanowar Elves and Dingo down to 19.
Right, and you mentioned the disruption of Strict Proctor. This is actually going to be a great matchup for that card, right? Yeah. I believe Grinning Ignus... I don't know if any of the payoffs for that are into the battlefield.
No,
I'm going to revise my statement. Strict Proctor not maybe going to be doing very much?
Yeah, probably not. So the Runaway Steamkins, the Burgies, those are all cast triggers to make the mana, and then the Ignus itself doesn't have an... Now, this thing does have an ETB, so this is... Oh, man, I want to say it's... Okay, there it is.
Nope, that's a cast trigger as well.
So 4 mana for a 4/4 for a strike. Additional cost to cast red permanent. You may pay 2 life. The spells cost a red less to cast, so essentially you can turn 1 of the red into Phyrexian. That actually is great for cost reduction if you're like trying to get a combo kill with very low resources. And then whenever you cast a red permanent spell, Defile of Instinct deals 1 damage to any target. So, and here we go, Dingo with the Strict Proctor Lotus Field combo, and now we're going to be ramping up to 6 mana next turn, potentially. But Daniel Ash might have something to say about it. Here's a Collected Company. We're going to look for a kill. Do we have it? There's a Burgie. There's a second Burgie. Prosperous Innkeeper. A couple lands. So this just stops ETB, so it will stop the Prosperous Innkeeper triggers.
Right, so this Ignus combo deck, Defiler Instinct is 1 combo piece. The deck actually has a lot of redundancy to that effect, right? Like, Burgie gives you a mana back. Defiler of Instinct can reduce the cost. So you're just kind of trying to get a critical mass of these effects into play, and then Grinning Ignus can just end the game.
All right, so this is a name of a card that I always forget, but this card is one of the 2 combo kill creatures in the deck. It's a 3-mana creature, Witty Roastmaster. It's a 3/2 and has Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So when you do Burgie plus the Grinning Ignus, that breaks even on mana, but with Witty Roastmaster or the Defiler in play, what that does is it ends up killing your opponent. But here's a Sunfall from Dingo,
wow.
And that's going to clear the board and make a huge incubation token. And the incubation token is going to be threatening for Daniel Ash's life over the next few turns for sure.
Right, and Daniel had invested a lot of resources into those creatures without getting much out of it after this turn 4 Sunfall from the Lotus Field deck. And follow-up is just a Hazoret's Monument for Daniel.
Yeah, not so good, but maybe he could still combo kill with Eclectic Company or something off the top. Plus, the looting effect from the monument is quite strong. But here comes Teferi, hero of Dominaria, and with Lotus Field, he's going to be untapping that, gaining a ton of mana to cast those instants. He's got discontinuity in the deck, so he
Oh
can do the
yeah.
big time stop effect on Daniel Ash's upkeep. He also has Memory Deluge, the huge draw spell that can pay off having the ability to untap that Lotus Field on your end step. Here's Runaway Steamkin for Daniel Ash. Can he find a kill? No. Here's Discontinuity in response. This is going to end the turn, which exiles the card when it's on the stack. And it
Right.
stops all the triggers from the monument as well.
Right. So discontinuity is a very interesting card based on when you decide to play it. Dingo could have cast that in Daniel's upkeep, just deny the turn altogether, but he waited until Daniel put a spell on stack. Use that as a counter spell for both the whole turn and the card in Daniel's hand.
Yeah. So heads up play from Dingo. Notice, there's no threat on the table, so no reason to just time walk. You're going to get a full card out of it anyway, either their draw step or something they play from hand.
Right.
And Daniel's in this bad of a position. He's looking to cast the best possible spell from his hand
Exactly.
to try to get back into the game. So discontinuity becomes a counter spell time walk.
All right, we see Dingo just invest that Lotus Field mana into the incubation token, and that will do it for Daniel.
Well, the story there, obviously, Sunfall. Daniel Ash's deck, critical mass, wants to have a bunch of game pieces on the table, and that Sunfall exiled all of them and just was a straight-up 4-for-1 of complete and utter beating. As these players look to their sideboard, I'm going to throw it over to Matt to give us his expert analysis. Matt, what you got?
So we're looking at Daniel's Grinning Ignus combo deck sideboard, starting out with 2 Abrade, 2 Cemetery Prowler, 3 Leyline of Sanctity, 2 Nissa Steward of Elements, 1 Outland Liberator, 2 Rending Volley, 1 Scavenging Ooze, and 2 Tamio's Safekeeping.
All right, so against this control deck, what do you think is going to be coming in from his side?
So Tamio's Safekeeping can be great at protecting your permanents, but I don't know that it really does very much against the specific interaction that Dingo is packing. Stuff like Sunfall, Tamio's Safekeeping will not stop that card. Daniel's probably going to be looking to these Nissa Steward of Elements, for the grinding matchups, try to recoup some card advantage, and possibly Outland Liberator if he's afraid of cards like Temporary Lockdown.
Yeah, I think that Temporary Lockdown is scary, but it doesn't come out of the Lotus Field decks too often, maybe in the sideboard, just because, you have Stern Proctor and you don't want to blow up your own stuff. But,
right.
I think
sometimes a tool you need.
Right, exactly. All right, so now that we've talked about the Grinning Ignus combo deck, why don't we take a look at young Dingo's sideboard? Why don't you tell me what you think he's going to be bringing in? It looks like he's citing a lot of cards here.
Yeah, so this Lotus sideboard has 2 Narcissus Reversal, 2 Thought Distortion, 2 Dovin's Veto, 2 Supreme Verdict, 1 Dragon Lord Jamoka, 2 Lantern of the Lost, 2 March of Otherworldly Light, and 2 Change the Equation. So right off the bat, Change the Equation is going to be great in this matchup.
Yep.
That can target basically every spell in Daniel's deck.
Very similar to like Ether Gust. We saw a lot of Ether Gust in Pioneer just a few years ago, but it's slowly gotten worse and worse. But Change the Equation is almost main deckable. Like that card just naturally counters a bunch of cheap stuff, but then it chains all the way up the curve and counters almost every single card out of like Mono Green Devotion outside of Karn the Great Creator, right?
Exactly, and we're probably also going to be seeing Dingo bring in these 2 copies of Supreme Verdict, just trying to go up on sweeper density, and March of Otherworldly Light to try to snipe a combo piece if Daniel is able to get going before a Wrath.
Alrighty, well, thank you for your expert analysis on these players' sideboards. I know that sideboarding is one of the most difficult parts of the game, and players at home are always wanting to know how the pros sideboard. Alright, well, these players are shoveling up here for game number 2. While we're waiting on them, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors here for this Apex Gaming Magic Weekend. Wings, etc., Grill and Pub. We went and ate there last night, had a great time. And also want to say shout out to G Fuel Energy for keeping us energized all throughout a very long weekend, a long but fun weekend.
Absolutely.
And then last but not least, big shout out to Ultimate Guard for those great swag bags that they give us to hand out at our invitational qualifiers. Daniel Ash going to be on the play here for game number 2, and we're underway. Hinterland Harbor and no 1-drop, and we're into no red mana territory for Daniel Ash and his mostly red deck. Interesting.
Right, and Dingo is going to lead off on turn 2 with some Foretold card.
Yeah, I don't think we have a foretell token, but
Yeah,
foretell a very powerful effect. Could be Doomscar. Doomscar I think is the one that's the most scary for Daniel Ash. But
absolutely.
there are a bunch of cards in the blue-white shell that can be in that slot, and since these are closed deck lists, Daniel Ash is probably just thinking, okay, how do I play around Doomscar the best?
Exactly. When you're lacking that information, you just have to plan for the worst case scenario, uh, assuming you have the avenues to do so. So impulse for Dingo here is going to. It looked like it got him a land drop. Uh, Daniel just setting up for the combo with a Hazard's Monument, trying to dodge any creature removal.
All right, we're gonna be playing a land. I don't know what land it is. It's
I believe
alternate
that would
art
be
something
Castle
or
Ardenvale.
okay, cool. So we got an alternate art Castle Ardenvale on Dingo's side of the table, and that alongside Hallow Fountain does enter on tap, which is nice. We have a Burgee, and that's going to trigger the Hazoret's Monument and potentially give us room for a kill. It's very easy to kill from spots like this. You just need a little bit of help. Daniel Ash going to play a Llanowar Elf. That's going to create a red mana. When you play a creature off Hazoret's Monument, you get to loot.
Right, and you mentioned Daniel until turn 3 was low on this red mana. Bergie actually allowing him to turn the green into a red, giving him the opportunity with the right cards to actually pull together the combo there. But it's just going to be Bergie, an elf, and a pass back to Dingo.
All right, well, here comes a Doomscar. Get that Bergie out, get the Llanowar Elves out. Not what you want to see if you're Daniel, but it could have been worse. Last game, it was way worse with a 4-for-1 type sweeper, and now just a little 2-for-1. Just lost the Elf, lost the Bergie. We can rebuild. We can make it stronger and faster. We get Prosperous Innkeeper here. I think we have a Llanowar Elves hanging out over there as well.
Right, and Hazard's Monument, only reduces red spells, but any creature you cast is going to get you this loot. Looks like Daniel maybe trying to hit some land drops. Fails to do so or develop anything besides this Prosperous Innkeeper.
All right, back Dingo's way. Going to be casting another Impulse. This is going to dig deep. He's looking probably for Stern Proctor, but maybe wants Lotus Field. Maybe just looking for Supreme Verdicts and going to play more of a fair game and just need some sweepers.
Right, and as far as I could tell, that Impulse saw 4 lands, so hopefully for Dingo's sake, that's what he was looking for. He did grab a Lotus Field.
Here it is, Proctor plus
Boom.
Lotus Field, and with those 2 Thespian stage, he's going to have a boatload of mana coming up here shortly. Back Daniel Ash's way. Shields are down, but Stern Proctor or Strict Proctor might actually be a little annoying here, depending on what he goes for. Here's Bergie, Baden Bergie. We got 2 mana. We're going to play a
Grinning
Ignus.
Ignus.
This is infinite, I think. This is a reduction from the Monument and a mana from the Burgee. We're actually gaining infinite red, and we have infinite loot. I think this is a kill. Let's watch Daniel Ash spin the wheel and see what happens.
Right, and importantly here, the Bergie actually immediately giving that mana back, allowing the Ignus to be activated. Really crucial piece here.
Yeah, that's a really interesting combo. It usually takes multiple pieces, but once it's assembled, it's infinite, and then we get to play the combo kill, and that's going to deal 1,000,000 damage, and we can pay for the Strict Proctor because we have made infinite mana.
Right.
Strict Proctor only stops enters the battlefield abilities, but when you have infinite mana, you just pay 2 for each one. So heads up play from Daniel Ash, winning through the Strict Proctor, showing us what that Grinning Ignus combo can do. Let's get Grinning Ignus up on the stream. Let's talk about this card, because this is a weird one that it originally, I believe, was in Time Straw block. Can we get the old one with the cool border? Because that's the one I really want to talk about. So Grinning Ignus. This card was in Future Sight, I believe, and they did the Future Shifted border. This is how the Tarmogoyf original border kind of looked like. And when these cards first came out, we thought they were so awesome.
Yeah, I believe it.
And they look so much different than what we were used to, and they kind of hinted at mechanics and sets and things that we were going to see in the future, and over time we have seen many of the future shifted cards, like their homes and like the planes that they came from. But Grinning Ignus was always this like little weirdo that didn't really let you, like, you could play him on turn 3, and then on turn 4 you could just bounce him, make 3 mana, and then play like a 6-drop, right? And that was its primary use in Limited. And in Constructed, it just like never saw any play because there wasn't a whole lot of cost reduction, and there was no Runaway Steamkin, and there was no Burgee.
Right.
And now in Pioneer, we have all of those cards combined with Collected Company, And
Yeah.
it just allows for this like old card that I have like a fondness for that was always so bad.
Yeah.
But it just has a home and it has an infinite combo and it's just so sweet.
Yeah. Very cool. The different uses of Collected Company. Just being able to jam all these combo pieces that work with Collected Company.
Right.
And we're getting ready for game 3 here. Dingo will be on the play.
Now let's get the record updated 1-1. And we're underway here for game number 3 between Pioneer Specialist Dingo. That's his alternate form. Today brought the Azorius Lotus Field deck that you're seeing. And he's fighting against this Grinning Ignus combo from Daniel Ash, who we know and love here on the Apex series. Pioneer Specialist Dingo goes for March of Otherworldly Light. That's going to knock off the elf. Back Daniel's way.
Right. Not necessarily the type of trade you want to be making, a 2-mana spell for a 1-mana creature, but Dingo has ample ways to catch back up on that mana disadvantage, and Daniel has no follow-up on turn 2.
All right, no explosiveness from either player. Dingo just a tapped Castle Ventress on turn number 3. We're back Daniel's way. 3 mana. What is it? It's a Hazardous Monument. Always scary. Dingo kind of wants to counter it, kind of wants to kill it. If not, we could see a repeat of game number 2, and he gets combo killed. No 4th land from Dingo. Maybe has Lotus Field, but no way to stop it from hurting him.
Right, and this is an interesting spot if you're the Lotus Field player. You can sacrifice 2 of your lands just to keep making those land drops, but you're really playing the card for the explosive potential, and you are not super interested in missing out on that. Here's Bergie.
All right, well, that's a good start. And we have the change the equation. That's going to straight up counter the Bergie. It's a hard counter for spells that are green or red that have mana value 6 or less, or 2 mana spells. But here's a Prosperous Innkeeper. We're going to get a loot off of the monument. We're going to discard a land and draw and make a treasure. Don't forget the treasure. There you go.
Right, and we did see on turn 3 when the monument came down, Dingo maybe thought about countering it, but change the equation, cannot target that monument.
Yep. Doesn't hit artifacts too well, especially 3-drop artifacts. That's why Karn the Great Creator is a big hole in the game plan for that card against Mono Green Devotion. It looks like Dingo is going to go for Lotus Field. If he has discontinuity with a trigger on the stack, he can do...
That's a Castle Ardenvale, actually.
Okay.
I was going to want to talk to Dingo about some of these card choices, maybe.
No, he's playing the cool versions that WotC gives him, and just because I don't know exactly what they are doesn't mean it's his fault. It's WotC's fault. All right, back Daniel Ash's way. The march does take care of the monument, but it did require pitching a strict proctor. And now we're going to go back Daniel's way and see if he can find a rebuild. Here's a Risen Reef. That's a nice one. That works with the Grinning Ignus. You can do little mini Grinning Ignus combos, right, with the Risen Reef, and just like hit a bunch of cards off the top of your deck, and for a very small amount of mana. You know, no mana generated, but you know, just a bunch of mana spent to draw cards, which is sweet.
Right.
Innkeeper gets in for 1. We're going to go back to Dingo's way in just a moment.
Yeah, and one interesting thing we've seen this game is Hazard's Monument being very important. Very little of Dingo's interaction actually deals with it. He has Dovin's Vetoes in the sideboard, but doesn't necessarily want to board those in this matchup. Dodges these Wrath effects. So Dingo really wanted to deal with that card and keep Daniel from filtering. Had to spend 2 cards on it to get it off the table.
No play from Dingo with 4 mana. We're back Daniel Ash's way. 5 mana available on the lands as well as a treasure and an elf. Here's a Grinning Ignus. So now we're going to get to see the Ignus. But no! A change the equation is going to counter it in the Risen Reef.
Wow.
No longer has its buddy. Here's an elf. Do you want to keep playing creatures into the Supreme Verdict? I don't know. It's very scary.
Daniel looks like down to just 1 card in hand without a whole lot going on other than a bunch of 1/1s.
No attacks. I wonder if he's just afraid of something. He can't play Collected Company if that's his last card because that elf he played has Summoning Sickness. He's 1 mana short. But here's Dingo. Goes for the main phase Memory Deluge. Looking for something.
Sees a bunch of lands, which Dingo has been low on this game.
Yeah. That's a cool art, Memory Deluge. The only reason I know that's Memory Deluge is because I was watching him in the hotel room last night, or a hotel lobby last night playing with it.
Right, that's the Store Championship promo.
Very cool.
Very nice. All right, what's Daniel going to be able to put together after Dingo taps out?
All right, this is your time. This is your moment. Daniel Ash playing against famous streamer Young Dingo, Pioneer Specialist Young Dingo, excuse me. Grinning Ignus. We get trigger from the Risen
Nice.
Reef. We're going to draw. We're going to bounce it and play it. We're going to bounce it and play it. And if we find some way to gain mana or reduce the cost, guess what? It goes infinite.
Yeah. And Daniel looks like has at least 3 red mana here to draw cards with this Risen Reef. That's the important part of the Ignus loop, right? It takes an extra red mana every time. We're gonna pick it up, play it again.
Yeah, such a cool card is Grinning Ignus, doing its own little bounce effect, and you know, oh, I saw a Hazrat's Monument in hand. I wonder if we're gonna try to play that now. Here's Prosperous Innkeeper. So we're gaining life all the while as well with the Grinning Ignus and getting the cards off the Risen Reef.
Right, and this Innkeeper, Daniel using those 2 Llanowar Elves to essentially filter into a red mana off this treasure if he wants to continue looping the Grinning Ignus. There's the red, bounce it, get the mana. And Daniel's actually going to, yeah, there's that die.
Yeah,
We were
here's
looking
the
for that.
Hazrat's Monument. And we're going to try to go for a kill next turn.
Right, just short of the mana required to go off without any interaction from Dingo. Dingo has a chance here.
Even with 1 cost reduction, it's you're still just breaking even.
Right.
But with Risen Reef or the Hazrat Monument's ability itself, you actually get to churn through your deck to find the kill condition. And Dingo here needs some sort of big interactive piece. Might have discontinuity. That could be something that needs to be on Daniel Ash's mind. And Dingo might be waiting for the Grinning Ignus to be cast first. Here it comes.
Here's an Ignus.
Dingo, do you have a response? Tap 6. Cut his hands off. Discontinuity. Let's get that one on screen. That one's terrifying.
Yeah, look
fingers.
at that art.
No more fingers for you.
Ignus exiled.
Yep.
So that's at least 2 Ignus down for Daniel. I had to give up his entire turn to this discontinuity. Dingo still looking to clear the board.
All right, we're going to be casting Impulse. That's going to be digging us 4 deep, looking for Verdict, Sunfall, Doomscar. Can he find it?
I do see a Sunfall, I believe.
Okie dokie. Needs a land, maybe 2, maybe not.
Right. Might be a while.
Oh, good call. Our director caught the discontinuity does exile itself. He went and made sure that game state was correct.
Right. Such a strange card. It actually clarifies in the reminder text, exile the stack, including this card. Which is not something you see very often in Magic.
Well, I've only ever seen it one other time, and that's the original of that effect called Time Stop from Kamigawa block, which was a dominant card in that era because that block constructed format was the PTQ format and the Pro Tour format.
Oh, yeah.
That was like, you know, in an era where Standard wasn't really played except for FNM. It was very strange.
What was that like?
It was weird. Block constructed was sweet, though. You know, it's just a different way to play the game. I love the way that we just like have little micro restrictions on formats and stuff. But here comes Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, instead of a sweeper effect. And we're going to be minusing on the Risen Reef, putting it a couple down. And we're going to go back to Daniel Ash, but now he can clear this Teferi.
Right, and with Hazard's Monument in play, that Risen Reef could be back in play as early as this turn.
Right. See if Daniel has the combo kill. Still has the Hazardous Monument. Shields are down from Dingo. Not a whole lot of free spells in Pioneer. So if he's able to get it going, then this might be all she wrote.
All right, Teferi down.
Daniel taps 2.
Really, the ideal for Daniel here would be a collected company to just guarantee that Risen Reef and anything else you could find. A 3rd Ignus.
Yeah, and now we get to essentially loot through our whole deck, breaking even on mana. It with the Monument is a nice little 2-card combo. If you have, you actually just gain infinite life. You churn through your whole deck.
Right. We do still need an extra red every time we loop this card.
Good call.
But we'll see how deep Daniel wants to go.
All right, so we're going to be discarding again. This maybe finds us Risen Reef.
It's going to be tight because we know Dingo has that Sunfall.
And we have maybe some colorless floating, I think is what's going on. So we're using a colorless to play the Risen Reap.
Sure.
And we still have access to 2 red with the treasure as well as the stomping ground. And we're going to draw a card with the Risen Reef. I think
Waiting
we forgot to
bated
loot,
breath.
actually, but, you know. A lot going on, a lot of triggers. Can Daniel Ash find the kill?
Right, and I'm going to be interested to see if we don't end up killing this turn, where the Grinning Ignus ends up. Will Daniel spend one of those red mana to just leave the Ignus in his hand to play around a Wrath, or just try to go as deep as possible?
Yeah, it's interesting decision, especially because, you know, you do get a card off of it by doing it, right?
We are casting a different spell, it looks like. There's a Defiler of Instinct.
Okay.
And the Defiler actually turning that red mana into Phyrexian.
Yes!
We have the loop!
We have it! Defiler of Instinct kills Young Dingo. The Pioneer Specialist is defeated, and Daniel Ash wins the first round here. The Apex Gaming $2,000 Pioneer Open.
And these players just showing each other what they had.
Oh,
Daniel had the 4th Ignus in hand, and Dingo says, yeah, I had the Sunfall, but not quite enough mana.
Yeah. Well, I think it was actually farewell, and he could play a 5 mana thing after
Right.
the impulse, but not a 6 mana thing.